And one day I received a text message. She was 13, and she just sent me a text message. Please, mom, can I change school? Without any excuses, without any explanation.
Hello, and welcome to Hadassah on Call, New Frontiers in Medicine. I'm your host, Maayan Hoffman. The world has become a much scarier place for so many people. When I was growing up, I barely understood the concept of war, let alone live through one. I was a Jewish girl in Kansas, where there were not that many Jews, and I never once experienced antisemitism or felt targeted because of my religion. Today, the reality is very different. My own 5 children have grown up running to bomb shelters. On October 7th and throughout the more than 2 years that followed, they watched me head into the field to cover the news and witness the horrors firsthand. In the United States, where much of my family still lives, and where my nieces and nephews go to school, the rise in anti-Semitism has hit close to home. In Boston, where one of my brothers lives, earlier this year, there was more than one anti-Semitic incident in a single week. And my partner is from Australia, the country that has seen one of the world's sharpest rises in violent anti-Semitism. Our children are carrying burdens that many of us never imagined they would face. And many parents, teachers, and caregivers are left wondering how to have these difficult conversations. Today, we're joined by Dr. Shiri Ben-David, head psychologist at Hadassah Medical Organization, and Karen Azoulay from Hadassah International, who helped spearhead the creation of 2 remarkable guides designed to help parents and caregivers navigate conversations about war, anti-Semitism, violence, and uncertainty with children of all ages. Welcome, Dr. Ben-David and Karen, to Hadassah On Call. So, Karen, the guides that were put together after October 7th, the war, and of course, Emma, the rising anti-Semitism. But I want you to speak a little bit about what you are experiencing in your community. Why did children in 2026 need these kind of guides?
Actually, I grew up in Paris, and I'm living in Geneva, and I never thought that in Geneva we were feeling anything about anti-Semitism. And when October 7 began, I just brought my daughter to a Jewish school in case, and I said, "You have the choice. If something happened, you can just ask for it, and we will change you." And I came in Hadassah in January 2024. And when I came back, she was just like coming back from school. She was in a public school. And when she came back, she was just like sad, but she didn't talk about anything. And it was really rude to talk with her because she don't want to just like, she don't want to be upset, or she don't want to be just like thinking bad things about her school. And one day I received a text message. She was 13, and she just sent me a text message. Please, mom, can I change school? Without any excuses, without any explanation. And I trust her because we have a good relationship. And I said, okay. And the day after, I just changed her. And I think it's crazy because it's about we had COVID situation about we were just like closed and we have to think about everything what happening. But then we were talk about Jewish identity. And it's crazy because I didn't thought that 70 years after the war, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and is this, you think, very unique then to Jewish children that you're seeing this kind of extremism focused mostly in the Jewish community?
I think everybody's feeling it. And from now, I think everybody's going out there, Magen David in Europe. And I think it's more rising in France and in United Kingdom. And we saw many things happening also in Netherlands. So I think Europe is really in danger in some kind for Jewish people. And for the kids, it's complicated because they grow up with all the communities, and now they are asking to go to Jewish school to be safe.
So, Dr. Ben-David, one word that appears throughout the guides is resilience. Now, we hear that word all the time here in Israel, but what does resilience actually mean? And specifically, what does it mean when you're speaking to children?
Well, resilience does not mean that life is easy on you or that you have the strength to deal all the time with all the challenges that you're dealing with and that you're always strong and always capable. But resilience means that you have the flexibility to deal with the challenges that life brings to you. Resilience means that when you encounter a challenge, you believe that you have the strengths and resources to deal with it, including resources that are outside of you. For example, the ability to ask for help, to say that this is too much for you and you need someone to rely on. These are also resources that represent resilience. And the more resources that you have and you can rely on, whether they will be inner or outer, the more resilient you are. And for children, it is more important because children are incapable of many things. They are incapable of dealing with many challenges that they are facing, but their ability to recognize what is in their own ability and in what instances they need other people's help and what kind of help, this is resilience in children.
How can parents help to build that resilience in their children?
It's a very delicate balance between providing children with the belief that they can manage on their own and that they have the resources and their abilities and their strengths, and giving them responsibility and giving them the experiences that they can cope on their own. And on the other side, being a reliable adult that they can rely on, they can turn to, and that they can provide the answers and comfort and sense of stability that they need whenever they cannot cope on their own.
And I want to just stick with you for just a minute, if that's okay, because one other thing that I really appreciated in the guides was how they were broken down by age. At what point did children actually begin to understand concepts like war, violence, anti-Semitism?
Well, I think there is no age that is too soon to provide these concepts, only that we have to be very careful in the way that we address them. Because the younger the child is, the less complexity he can understand in cognitive manners. So the younger a child is, we need to address more terms of right and wrong, good and bad, and explain things in a way that is more dichotomous and less complex. And the older they get, we can address complexity because these terms are very complex. And people are not actually either bad or either good. And war has many aspects of it. And sometimes it has to be, even though we don't like it. So the more they grow up, the more we want to address complex terms.
So turning to you, Karen, parents like myself, even we worry very much, that we're going to potentially say the wrong thing to our children, and certainly in these kind of very difficult situations. So for the people who are listening, if they haven't had a chance yet to read the guides, what are your biggest recommendations for talking to children ages 3 to 6, ages 7 to 12, and then of course teenagers? And, I guess what's the biggest mistake also that parents make?
I think the first thing is presence. No matter what the age is, I think we have to be there and we have to listen to them. I think the first thing is to acknowledge the emotion and to help the kid to talk about it and to have the space to talk about it. And I think the worst thing we can do is to deny it. Even if we are worried about it and if we don't want to see it, it's worse because the kid is keeping it inside. And if you keep it inside, you don't have the space to express yourself after. And if they don't say it, if they don't search for anyone else, because you're the parent, so they are coming to you first, and after if they have the chance, they will search for someone else. But sometimes they just like close their heart. So I think the first thing is just like to be present, to listen, and to acknowledge the emotion, no matter the age. And I think we have to do it for ourselves. And we have to, I think the guide is good for that, because when you read it, it's just like something you go through, and there is a path, and you learn it for yourself, that you can reply it.
And Karen, sticking with you for just a minute, you mentioned the story about your daughter at the beginning and how she didn't really speak to you about the things that were going on. And what you just said now, sometimes they're closing in. So if a child is not verbal, is not expressing the challenges that they're going through, what are some of the signs that will tell you, oh, my child is struggling and I should take some action?
You have to take care about everything. Details are important, and from the morning till the evening, and you have to see all the changes in the compartments, like if they happy at school, did they say anything about it, and if you ask few questions, just like how was your day, did they respond frankly, or did they have something just like that there is a secret inside, and try to always make the communication easier and ask them questions, just like simple questions. And I think this is the first step.
And Dr. Ben-David, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think I would add, I completely agree. And I would add honesty as a key factor in our communication with our children. Because sometimes we want to protect them. And you asked, what is the right time to begin speaking about? And sometimes parents will postpone speaking about what is happening because they don't want to expose their children to things that they wouldn't know. But the reality is that they know. They are exposed to their friends and to the media in every age. And if we are trying to overprotect them from this information, what will happen is that they will be exposed to the information from somebody else. And that way, we cannot control the way that the process is conducted. And if it is in our hands, we can mediate the information the way we want. And I remember one incident, it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks after the war began. And I had a group in the community where I live. I invited parents to speak about how to talk to their children about what has happened. It was very raw, what we were experiencing back then. And I talked a lot about being honest with the children. If they ask questions, they want to know the answer, they're capable of understanding the answer. You don't have to provide very visible details, but be honest. And then one of the mothers started crying. And when I asked what happened, she said that, the first 2 weeks we didn't have schools. So people could protect their children. They wouldn't open their TV, so children didn't know. But after 2 weeks, they went back to school. And her son, who was 7, came back for the first day, and he said, "Mom, is it true that there is a child kidnapped in Gaza?"
Wow.
There were dozens. He heard about a child. And she said, "No, that's not possible." Because she couldn't bear the fact that he will know that something like that has happened. And then she started crying because she understood that this was a lie, and soon enough he will know. First thing, that there are children kidnapped in Gaza, and second, that she lied to him. And what would that mean about their relationships? And she felt so, scared and embarrassed about what has happened. And my message to parents is that we make mistakes all the time. Oh, the joke in my profession is that we make a living from parents' mistakes.
I love that. I love that.
But the good thing is that we can repair, because parenthood is a long-term relationships. And in this meeting with the parents, we actually rehearsed how she is going back to her child. And she says to him, the other day that you asked me about the child, and I tell you no, because this is so sad that I didn't want you to be so sad.
Wow.
But the reality is that there are children kidnapped in Gaza, and how are we dealing with this information? And I think we always have the chance to repair.
Incredible. Now, I did notice in the guide, though, that it's not just for parents, that it's also for teachers and counselors and other professionals who may be interacting with children. And even if they're not seeking it out, some kids, might ask questions of these other professionals. How does that role, this external caregiver, differ from the role that the parents have in talking about these things?
I think we are all together in this mission of supporting our children and giving them the best environment to grow up in. And as we say that we need a village to make a child grow, the village includes the parents and the teachers and the counselors and the guides at the summer camp, and we're all partners in giving and supporting our children the best environment. So I think we have to be in a very good relationships and collaboration to know what kind of messages are provided at school and at the youth movement at the summer camp, and to be in relationship with that. It is okay that different messages will be provided from different professionals and parents. And as children grow up, they are able to process different kinds of point of views and perspectives. But we have to know what kinds of perspectives are provided so we can mediate also the differences that are there.
And we spoke about that there are actually two guides. And I noticed that in the second guide, it specifically focuses on October 7th, the war and anti-Semitism only. And so how different are the conversations that you're having, talking to your children in the diaspora from what perhaps Dr. Ben-David can talk about in terms of talking to children here in Israel, when you face the same but also very different challenges?
It's I think it's not exactly the same because it's not the same violence. For us, it's abroad, and for you, it's just like at home. As Jewish child, we grew up as a Jewish child in diaspora, and we didn't have the feeling of any anti-Semitism. We grew up with the Arabs and Catholic, and everything was easy somewhere. But I think when now we talk about the identity, it's complicated to differentiate the nationality and the religion. And when something happened in the Middle East, it's not only about the nationality, it's about the religion. But how can a kid can understand that? Because I am Jewish, but how can I be hated for that? Because it's my religion and it's my values. So I think when we talk to kids now in Europe and everywhere else, it's complicated because they face violence everywhere on social media, at school, and we need to take care about it. And the first thing I think it's important is to validate it again. And if it's too hard, I think you have to go to the police station or anything, because we really they need to understand that it's really the baddest thing we can do to someone is to just like to say something like, I can talk to you because you're Jewish. And where is it going? Where are we going? And we face it as adults too. So it's complicated because it's our identity and we want to be part of the city and the country we are, and we don't get the support. So I think we have to really take care about it and still talk about it and communicate about it, because if we if we are just silent, where is it going?
And Dr. Ben-David, how's it different in Israel?
I think one of the differences is that being a Jewish person in the diaspora, meaning that you have two identities. You are part of the Jewish community and you are part of your nationality, being French or British or American. And I think in situations like that, in times like that, with the rise of anti-Semitism, there is a conflict of identities. Who is your in-group? Who do you belong to? Your best friend suddenly becomes something strange to you. Who do you rely to? And we see more and more reliance on the Jewish communities, even for people who are unorthodox, never went to the synagogue, their children go to national schools, but you see an increase in the Jewish in-group. Whenever in Israel, this is your major identity. Most of the people around you are Jews and Israelis. So the threat is different. The threat is from the outside and not from the inside. And I think it makes a difference.
For sure. Now, Israel is often described, as we talked about earlier, as a resilient nation. Are Israeli children coping better because of the resilience that's been woven into our society than the kids that are maybe facing anti-Semitism in the diaspora and, as you mentioned, never did before?
I am not sure.
It's okay.
I think children in Israel, they are experienced. What I can say is that it is no surprise to them. No, Iran is attacking again, somebody is threatening again. Okay, we know how to deal with that. But it does not necessarily mean that all children are more resilient. Some of them are already traumatized, and this is a secondary and third trauma for them, and they become less and less capable of coping with what is happening. So I think it goes both ways, the experience that we're gaining. But I can say that for a Jewish child in the diaspora, it's a surprise. And surprise takes you to different directions.
So many parents, Jewish parents living in the diaspora, are navigating, as you said, something that they never expected. I mean, certainly when you and I grew up, we went to school and we didn't feel this a generation ago. Many Jewish children, I'm assuming, never even thought about anti Semitism until these last few years. So it's part of many families' conversations only today. How do you explain the reality to children that it went from, white to black, really white being good, and all of a sudden this is going on? It was like almost overnight.
It was not exactly overnight
Okay.
because when you are in the diaspora, when we are listening Israel, it's the bad word. And so when we talk about Israel, it's just like Jewish people, and after Palestinian, and after from the river to the sea. Actually, I think after October 7, there was a shift because the voice increased and there was just like a legitimacy to say what you thought. And actually, it was in our DNA, something raised up, just like we are talking about our country. And in the same time, it was just like Palestinians get supported by many, many people without knowing anything about the situation. And kids around that just like was listening few things, just like they came back home just like, Mom, what is it to from the river to the sea? I don't understand. What is this sentence? And we didn't knew about it, and we don't just understand it. Do you understand it? I don't understand it. I don't know what they are talking about. And I think it's raising. And I think all the wars and all the conflict with Israel made it just like bigger and bigger. And we think that it's black and white, but I think it's white and gray and after a little black. And I think now we are just like light black, but we don't know where we are going. So I think it's important in that way that this guide is also talking what he's doing, what doctors of Hadassah are doing here, and how we can help all the Jewish people just around the world, because they have the knowledge somehow, and we don't know where we are going, and we believe that I think all the Jewish people around the world know that if they have to go somewhere, it will be there. So that's why we support Israel, and that's why it's in our DNA. So it's really complicated to talk about antisemitism, sorry, and in the same time saying just if I have to live where I'm now, I will have to go there. So I think it's the paradox of it.
Dr. Ben-David, in Israel, our kids are exposed to the news all the time. Even if you don't turn on the TV, it's on YouTube, it's on TikTok, and they've seen so many things, the diaspora as well, but I think even more so here where this is constantly our news cycle. How do you balance the fact that they're seeing these things? Are there protections you should put in place? And if they do see something, when is it time to take action and talk to them about it?
I think exposure to the social media is very age dependent. At lower ages, we can control their exposure. We can not provide a smartphone. We can control the different programs that they can be exposed to, and I think we should, because as I said earlier, as younger you are, the less complexity you can understand. And these contexts can be very, very disturbing. But as children grow up and they turn into being teenagers, we can control the contents that they are exposed to. And then I think we should be very clear about speaking about everything. Ask what they see, ask if they saw something disturbing. If we know that something is happening, not waiting until they ask, saying, "Did you hear that this and this happened? What did you hear about it? What do you know about it? Do you want to know more? Were you exposed to something disturbing today? What bothers you?" Being very active. And I completely agree with you that being present is the key factor, because you don't deal with this situation, you don't run this conversation if you set the time from 4 to 5 p.m. No, this is the time that you speak to your children. You have to be there. You have to walk around and see whenever is a good time to ask, "How are you?"
Is there a concern, though, about rising drug use, alcoholism among teens, suicide risks? I was reading a recent study showing that there was a big linkage since the war to a rise in these kind of factors. Are you seeing the same thing here at Hadassah, and how can we help with that?
We see a rise in mental distress. We see a rise in eating disorders. We see a rise in substance abuse. I have to say that we don't see a rise in suicide attempts. And I have to say that because it's a lot on the media, and every story is a tragic story, and it is, on the big screen. But there is currently no rise in suicide attempts. Of course, it doesn't mean that there is not an increased distress wherever we go, and we see that a lot. And actually now, when the war is on a bit lower level than before, we see more and more people turning to our clinics because they are more emotionally available to deal with what is happening.
But also, as it gets further away, does the anxiety, depression, or potential post-trauma get less, and more post-traumatic growth get more?
Actually, the interesting thing is that these concepts are unrelated.
Mm.
People can deal with PTSD and with post-traumatic growth, in parallel, because having reminders of trauma and being alert and being very irritated, these are consequences of trauma. But also understanding that something meaningful may have happened, and maybe there is a reason for the thing that has happened to you, and how you grow out of it and do something different with your life because of the lessons you have learned. You can also do that.
Now, turning to you, Karen, I did notice that the guide mentions a couple of times this idea that children still need to have a sense of control. Why is that so important? And what are some simple ways that parents can help children to feel empowered in these situations and not helpless?
Yeah. When the context is always moving and we don't know what's happening, I think we need to anchor few things all the day, and just like you have to do the birthdays and you have to do the routine, and we need to control those things, little things that I can have. I can still have control of my life, because I can't just control everything around. So I can control brushing my tooth. I can control going to school. I can control when I can go to school, actually. But I think all the small things we are doing just help us to stay anchored and grounded. And we need to ground ourselves somewhere just to be in life.
Now, the last two questions I actually want to address to both of you. I want to know first from you, Karen, if every parent listening would remember just one principle from these guides the next time that their child asked a difficult question, what, in your opinion, would that principle be?
I'm here. I will always be there. And I'm here with you. And if I don't know the answer to your question, let's search together and stay present always. If someone just talk to you about something, the presence is everything. So be there. And I just wanted to add something, because yesterday I met a guy and told me something. Actually, Annie is the two words Anne Shelley, and it's my place. So we all have a place, and it's our responsibility. Annie, I'm here. I'm here with you, and I will always be there.
And Dr. Ben-David, what about you? What principle do you want parents to remember?
I completely agree. And I will again emphasize being honest. I believe in you, my child, that you can deal with the reality if I can mediate it to you and I can be there for you to deal with it.
Thank you. And even though we're dealing with such a complicated topic, which unfortunately is very heavy, there is something really beautiful about the guide in that it ends with this message of hope. So when you look at the next generation and, look at the guides and the ways that we could talk, what gives you hope? Do you believe that we can overcome this? Karen, why don't you start and we'll end with you?
I think we have everything in our hands, and we need to restart talking. Because, with AI, we are going to lose our voice in many ways. And the human part is so important. I think with those guides, we just relearn how to talk and how to be there and how to be there with each other and to, I think, participate to life, being alive. It's important.
And Dr. Ben-David, what's your final thoughts?
Well, I think crisis is something that I hope we wouldn't have to deal with. But once it is here, it also reveals the strength and resources that we have. And before October 7th, we were always talking about this Generation Z, and they are always on their, social media, and they don't have values, and they don't have meaning, and what will happen with them and their relationships. They're only talking to their ChatGPT. And then the war began, and we saw what an incredible generation we have here. And they ran to the army, and they ran to volunteer everywhere, and they are all over holding this society. And I think crisis brings also the best in us, and we can see what we have. And unfortunately, we had to find out, but we did find out.
Wow, that is such a beautiful way to end this show. I just want to make sure that our listeners and viewers know that they can get these guides. I understand they're on the Hadassah website. Just Google it and you can download the guides to help your own children and to help yourself. Dr. Shiri Ben-David, Karen Azoulay, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.